Welcome, fellow travelers, to the Never Ending Adventure podcast. We are on episode 1 of season 3. I am Russell Tyndall, and my co-host is
DJ Netty P.
Thank you. Man, welcome. Ned, you look great. Love that tank top.
Yeah, it's summertime, baby.
It is summertime. Sun's out, guns out.
I know. I was in a hoodie this morning and stepped outside at like lunchtime and was like, okay, I'm stripping down. I'm doing tank top and shorts today.
Stripping down. That's why we need to get a visual element to this podcast, because we know all you travelers want to see us in tank tops.
You want
Let's start an OnlyFans. Well, maybe not OnlyFans, maybe Patreon. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe OnlyFans.
It's all the same thing.
If there's a demand for it, twist my arm.
twist
Pull off my
something
shirt.
else. Don't say OnlyFans.
Anyways.
Man.
Yeah. Man, we're here. Ned, how you doing? Are you feeling a little bit rested after last week? We took a week off in preparation for starting season 3. And actually, I guess I'm cutting you off. You're about to say something, but I came down and saw you.
I know. Well, that's what I was going to kick it off with and be like, hey, the last time we actually spoke was in person, which is not as frequent as it used to be.
It's true. I had to go down for a belated Easter trip to go see my mom. And then go see my grandma and my sister as well. And if anyone follows us on Instagram, whatever our thing is, I don't know. Anyways, if you follow us on Instagram, you probably already saw the miniature donkey that my grandma has. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful time. Her house is so cool. It's very much over the river and through the woods. And it always felt like that as a little kid.
Yeah. Well, no, you showed me that picture of the donkey, and I was like, I'm so glad we did a Shrek special on this show, because I was like, that is the donkey from Shrek, 100%.
It is. It's the same size.
I know. It's like the miniature aspect is kind of like more like dog size. So it's just like perfect. And I was like,
yeah.
Is your grandma living in a swamp? Like, what's going on?
Man, we used to call it like a farm. She had a bunch of goats, a horse, a donkey, and she raised and trained Labradors. And so as a kid, like I said, you go over the rivers, which is the Georgia and South Carolina border, get into South Carolina, and then she lives in like the countryside, like surrounded by trees. So it really felt
in the
like,
boonies.
Yeah, it felt like magical in a sense going to grandma's house. It always felt really cool.
Yeah, I feel like, well, in the South, we say it's magical, it's gorgeous, you reconnect with nature. And I think everybody else in the world goes, that's the boonies.
Well, it is kind of hick. It is.
I always try to describe like South Georgia things I've done with people, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds like I am a hillbilly. Like saying this was the most fun weekend I've ever had. Like,
true. My grandma has a donkey. Not many people can say that, and it's not like a rich thing either. It's very much just someone had a donkey they were trying to get rid of.
Found one on Craigslist for like $70.
Yeah, pretty much.
Land.
But no, I got to go see your brand new house in Atlanta and see your studio space.
The new studio space. It's quite wonderful.
It's pretty sweet. Yeah, I dig it.
We got to get a little bit more soundproofing in here. Just a little bit. Yeah.
It's a home. You got a home there.
Home studio, baby. I'm at DJ Cowboy Hat level now.
Do what?
I said I'm at DJ Cowboy Hat level now. I got a little home studio,
It's true. It's very true.
Not as good as his, but it's good.
No, not at all. Nor are you nearly as talented as a producer.
No way. No way, no how.
But anyways, had a great trip. Was fun to see you. And I'm sure we'll hang again next time I'm in town. Next time you're in town, I don't know, because you came up here and didn't see me, but I'm just saying.
Dude, I was on so many work calls.
I'm just saying.
Well, next time we do it, we'll make sure we just coordinate microphones. We just bring microphones to one location or another, and like we should have
recorded together.
Yeah, this is a good little spot for doing like a on the couch in the chair like type interview.
That would have been fun. Anyways, let's get into this episode a little bit. I got a prediction right off the bat.
Well, hold on,
Ned, you're gonna love this episode, huh?
Let the viewers know we are starting season 3. It's official, man.
I already said it. Yeah, we're starting season 3. Here we go. We're getting into it. Ned's going to love this episode because it's a treehouse episode, pretty much.
Yeah, I love this episode. Well, I can't say I love it. I like this episode. I thought it was a strong way to start out season 3 because I read a lot of stuff about, Adventure Time as a whole and like where does it fall off? Where does it really hit the mark and everything? And I read some reviews in terms of just general reviews. Going, season 3 is great. It takes a lot of canon. It takes a lot of our development that we've already been through, but it doesn't lose that Finn and Jake having fun, doing goofy adventures mentality. So I really feel like the storyline in Conquest of Cuteness, season 3, episode 1, really fits in with a similar narrative fun time as season 1. But we get some aspects of our characters are already developed. We're not building anything new. And it's kind of nice to not be playing catch up, but to also get a fun random story,
Yeah, at the very most, we have Jake and Finn reflecting on their shared mother. But otherwise, it's just a one-off adventure with some really cute characters. But I'm actually getting ahead, and I think we both are a little bit. We have a traveler's log segment for this episode.
Yes,
and maybe we should hop into that.
Yeah, we had a great message from Austin who was reviewing and kind of giving us some notes back when we did Mortal Folly. Again, our first ever Lich introduction, and one that I feel like we could talk about for like 2 more episodes. Honestly, we could get into it. But Austin had some great notes, and I've got some feedback for Austin as well in terms of what I agree and disagree with. And the first note I didn't even think about, but he mentioned Jake becoming the backpack to comfort Finn is iconic, like bro material. And I totally agree. Like, no more, we didn't have Jake's suit. We didn't have anything like Jake could have totally been Jake's suit there, but the backpack, when Finn had gotten his backpack ripped by the zombies, he didn't have a backpack anymore. Like, Jake becoming the backpack was like super bro moment, which was awesome.
It's just enough encouragement. And I almost brought it up because I had noticed it on the episode, but I was so distracted by what a crazy episode that was that I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it for like over an hour. Like we pretty much like tapped out what we could have without going for 2 hours,
Agreed.
But the second note that Austin had was, he said, most important, number 2, double exclamation point, most important. When at the Well of Power, the Lich's voice permeates Finn's mind after the gem shatters. Something really interesting to Austin is that the Ice King doesn't have the gems from Bubblegum. We do see the Lich attempt to control the Ice King. I'd imagine the Lich's mind has multiple channels such that he doesn't need to isolate his spells to control one being at a time, especially since his will is already split amongst the skeletons in the foyer. But Austin has 2 theories, and I'm going to probably just paraphrase both of them because I kind of understood both of them. The first one is Ice King's mind is too corrupt, as is. It's too jumbled up. He has a spoiler in here, but it's already kind of pretty much like a labyrinth, like we already talked about. And that the skeleton, the Lich chooses the snail because it's more of like an empty vessel. And the Ice King's mind's already just like kerplunkled. And then his second point, his second hypothetically speaking, his second theoretically speaking, if you will, is that there is a similarity or a strong connection between Bubblegum's crown, aka her gem in her crown, the jewels, and Ice King's jewels in his crown. And I agree with both of these points, Austin. I definitely think your first one is a little bit more valid, that the Ice King's mind is a little bit too much labyrinth for the Lich to do any sort of kind of possession or control. And I think we see that there is some other, I can't even pull it out of me right now, some other moment in the show when someone tries to possess or do a magic spell over the Ice King and it just doesn't work because it's like there's nothing to control there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I agree with Austin's first point. I do agree that there's an importance and a connection between the gems and the crowns, but also, Ice King, PB, they're elementals. The other apprentices also have jewels in their crowns that are important, but they're not elementals, all of them. So that one, that's the only reason why that theory gets a little bit hazy, I would say.
Yeah, I got you. I do love the idea of, and I don't know anything about the Lich, but that the Lich has multiple channels through which it can cast multiple spells on other creatures. That feels very, it feels very Name of the Windy for me, for anyone that loves the King Killer Chronicles. And I've mentioned that before, but that's cool. I love that, Austin. Man.
Yeah. No, Austin, that's a good thought. That's
Sick.
very much where I feel like our minds on the podcast go, for sure.
Yeah, a little bit of that was a little over my head just because I am only on season 3. It's weird spending a year and only getting to season 3 of a show.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like we get so many comments on our posts and what we share, and they're like, "Oh, you didn't talk about this. You didn't talk about Masha the Sky Witch. You didn't talk about Darren the Ancient Sleeper's Past." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, because we're reviewing like season 2. Like, just calm down. Like, we're gonna get there. We just can't talk about everything all at once, you know."
Well, exactly. And neither will we really want to. And we're no experts in a sense. I mean, you certainly are an expert on the podcast and a big fan of the show and know a lot about it. But we didn't write the show, like
Yeah,
we don't have a degree in Adventure Time.
Well, I think our fans, everybody gets really stoked when we start getting into the deep stuff. True. And they're like, well, you didn't talk about
this. We can't blame them. Let's not hit on
4 seasons later. I'm like, yeah, I know. I mean, I would talk about it, but like, that's not what we're focusing on. Like, there's a lot to talk about Ice King, but we can't all talk about it in the episode where Ice King appears for 40 seconds, Yeah.
No hate. Don't mean to spread any hate on the Travelers by any means, but no, I love the feedback. Even if they're calling us out or pointing something out, like it'll cause conversations to be had in the comment sections and stuff like that. Like it's all good as long as it's for love. But anyway,
as long as it's righteous, bro. As long as
it's righteous. Yeah, I'm so righteous. Anyways, you know what is righteous? The Everything Burrito, and that's how we're kicking off the Conquest of Cuteness. Little segue. Man, I could not do it. It's got spatulas and pans all in it. And then the cleanup, Ned, the cleanup of the Everything Burrito afterwards I would never do it. I'd just make eggs and throw them in a burrito.
Like he just said, there's nothing to clean up if it's all in the burrito. So
that's the point.
There is no cleanup. So it's more than,
I'm sold. I'm back in. But like every good dog, he bears it in the yard.
I was more going to ask you though, if you were to do an Everything Burrito, what would be in there? It has to be random. It has to be. There's some rules. It has to be random. It has to be like everything you love in a burrito.
It would be a quarter honey. It'd be just a ton of honey, whipped cream, chocolate. I'm making a dessert burrito for sure.
I mean,
I don't know if that's what you were looking for. My bed. I love my bed. My bed's going to be in it. I'm going to be one of those people that can eat mattresses.
In bed,
What'd you say?
The best burrito I've ever had in my life, I ate in bed, so I don't blame you there.
No, I'm eating my bed. I'm not eating it in bed.
That's weird.
Well, you asked. What are you eating?
What do you put on your burrito? And my mama, I'm sorry.
Okay, no. Copyright. Anyways.
You can do 6 seconds. We're good.
Yeah. Ned, they got a ton of treasure. We pointed this out, I think, in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
And their house is just flooded with treasure. They need a bank or something. This is getting out of hand.
Yeah, well, we already can tell there's all these kingdoms in Ooh. There's no centralized bank except for, AKA, when the king of Ooh comes around and wants to somewhat democratize, maybe be a monarch over all of Ooh. There'd be a central bank there, but there's no central bank of Ooh besides what they can hold in their treehouse, and that's probably the safest place for it.
Yeah, but are they like plundering dungeons, or are people just throwing treasure at them when they solve small problems? Like,
no, I
got some birds, got a cat.
I would 100% think it's just dungeon plundering. Okay.
Well, that's cool. I mean, that is one of the best episodes of the show is Dungeon.
Yeah. So far, I mean, I still think Dungeon sits in my top 3 of the first 2 seasons for sure.
Yeah, 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah. But also, did you notice that it was like the rest of it was like all treasure, and then it was like in this episode, it was like ham, cheese, eggs, and like bacon all in there.
Yeah, they're no better than the Ice King.
I would assume it was because maybe Jake made the everything burrito, maybe they had just plundered some sort of like breakfast dungeon, because their treasure room was just filled with like cheese and bacon and ham. And I was like, maybe they just had like, they plundered a dungeon. It was only full of food. So Jake was like, I got to make an everything burrito, you know?
Maybe so. Yeah. They were inspired. They must have been inspired.
I would do, you know?
Well, we got a threat to the everything burrito in this episode. The
cuties.
The Legion of Cuties, man. They're pretty dang cute. And their king is even cuter. And he is my lovely.
Give me some sugar, baby.
Oh, no. That's your lovely? Was the king of cuteness? No. See, I thought everybody else in the Legion of Cuteness was cuter than the king.
Yeah, but the king has like a fun arc, sort of. And you get to see how like hurt he is and sad he is, that he just can't rule anybody. He just wanted to take people over and be evil. And he's just too cute. He's never going to be evil. You know, he learned at the end that mind manipulation is the way to go with his cuteness. But I don't know, man. I mean,
we can already get deep in this one in terms of my qualms with Jay or with Finn and the king of cuteness, the king of the cuties, is that like it reminded me of vibes of when we dealt with the tree witch. You know, Finn really wants to help this person or entity or, you know, being that is inherently evil. Like they don't want the good, or you know, Finn says as long you can use your powers or your cute powers as long as you're righteous. But like the cute king's trying to be evil, like, and Finn still helps them just like he helped the tree witch. And that was kind of like my connection. It was like Finn helps them. They still aren't good at the end of it. But Finn, you know, quoting season 1, he's just like, I'm freaking all about helping people, you know, like,
yeah, but
he just
they
wants
had
to help.
Opportunity. They didn't take it. They could have, if they were really evil, and they should have just snuck around in the night and put poison in the burrito. They should have killed them while they were sleeping. There's so many things that they could have done, but they didn't do. They were trying to have just like a very conventional, like, we're going to charge at you and you charge at us battle sort of thing. And then even at the end, what does he use his cuteness for? Hey, Ice King, make me a sandwich. Man, that is so evil, you know? Like, I don't know.
It was the sense of like wanting to rule somebody, obviously, but
yeah, I know.
You know, not with the sense of ruling somebody where, you know, at least Princess Bubblegum rules people and she has this, you know, better society in mind, not ruling people for the sake of having power, you know.
Oh, you're ridiculous, Ned. How will they ever splash around in the brains of their enemies if they explode if they can't take 2 steps without exploding?
Well, I mean, it's just like
they're adorable, dude.
Do you have so much sympathy for somebody who's trying to do something bad, but they just can't do it, that you're just like, here, let me help you do that bad thing, and like it's going to be totally fine.
And he had a victory dance. Ned, what is not to like about the cute king? You're silly.
Oh, well, the only thing is that my lovely of the episode is probably an underdog. It's not BMO. It's not BMO. I know you thought it might be BMO, but
no, too small of a part.
It's LSP.
Yeah,
it's LSP. When they gather the group together, it's like Cinnamon Bun, the Goose, and LSP, and Jake and Finn. First of all, just like a freaking motley crew, if I've ever seen one.
I have an idea about that. So they say all our friends, so they're going to go get all of their friends, and they get those 4, right?
I mean, that had to have been like the 4 people that were just wandering around somewhere close to their treehouse.
Dude, I think they called everybody, but the only 4 that were willing to help. It makes sense. I mean, they're not exactly the brightest or most ambitious crew.
It's the only ones that didn't have anything going on at the time.
Yeah, like I could just imagine LSP just like, yeah, right, I'll help you, whatever. You know,
like Jennifer, let me hang up. I gotta go help my buddy Finn. He might like me.
Yeah, and then like Princess Bubblegum, you know, they go up to Princess Bubblegum and be like, hey, here's what's going on. She's like, Finn, I have other things that I'm doing, man. Like,
dude, yeah,
I'm sorry.
She at this point has not helped him with any of his quests. He has only helped her with her quest.
Wait, she's 13 though. She's 13 now.
We won't get there until episode 6 of this season. So I'm not gonna try to get too ahead of ourselves talking about PB in this season specifically.
See, her as the context of her being 13 years old, maybe my theory is wrong, because really she would probably go help him, because that's exactly what a 13-year-old would do.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this sounds like a great quest. Let's do it. I don't know. Well,
it'll come back into play. I do wish we saw more 13-year-old Bubblegum going, like, doing fun random adventures like this one, though.
Well, tell me more about why LSP is your lovely.
Just, she gets so into the part, and again, I think it's because she's so bored with her life. You know, she's accepted it. She is a part of this hobo in the woods mentality, but anytime that she even gets to go like help her friends, she's just like all about it, and she's like, and again, it's my tops of the episode, and it's my lovely. It's just like, my heart hurts because I fell out of love. That's just like such a good line, honestly.
The perspective she takes on how to go about like acting like they lost or like they were defeated. It's fall in love, fall out of love, fake die of a fake heart attack is so funny. Yeah. Like, I would love to see the voice actor from the show do that little monologue that she does. Just, I want to see them recreate that. I'm sure it's hilarious to watch them voice act LSP.
It's my tops of the episode. Like, her monologue about just like faking dying about over cute people, and like Finn's like, we're gonna pretend to die, and she's just like, I'm in it. She's like, she's 100% sold. She's 100% on board. So like, my lovely goes to LSP just for being like gung-ho for an adventure at this point. I don't even think it would have had to have been fair. This. Like, she would have been gung-ho for any adventure at this point.
I think, man, LSP, if you're not choosing the cute king, I think LSP is probably the next best character in this episode, just for that reason alone.
Yeah, I would have, my backup lovely, you know, if you hadn't accepted my first one, was Blimblop, who the cuteness king calls out, and he's like, Blimblop, you didn't even do anything. You just explode. And she like points at him, and he just goes poof, and just explodes on the spot.
What about the one that runs into a mushroom right in the crotch? That one had me cracking up.
Mushroom. The other one, I love the one that was standing there at the very end, and just all of his body parts fell off. I was like, that's just wonderful.
Yeah. Well, Ned, how about this? All right, let me recreate what the cute king does. A little visual gag for our people, travelers.
Okay.
All right. You know, I love the cute king in this episode. I think the cute king was great, and here's why. What about now?
With the blinking eyes.
I'm trying to do a recreation of the cute king when
trying to be one of the cute army.
Well, when he convinces the Ice King to make him a sandwich, you know, and he like lays down and he's all adorable and his eyes start to glisten. He's like,
oh man, I loved the Ice King cameo. Again, it's for why we actually have had some people on TikTok go like, I'm trying to start the show, but I can't get through season 1. You know, it's part of the canon. Like, you wouldn't understand the funniness of the Ice King in this episode if you didn't know where it came from. And the Ice King's just like sitting in his castle, just like beat bopping on the floor doing nothing. And it's kind of like, oh my gosh, we see the Ice King's boring life and why he wants to find princesses, why he wants to hang out with Finn and Jake. It's like, he's just doing nothing up there, you know, most of the time.
It's true. I had a comment recently that was saying, like you said, where do I start? I really don't want to watch the first 2 seasons. And sure, you could start with season 3, I'm sure, but there are like little sprinkles of canon and building of characters and all that I feel like matters so much. Just like when someone's like, oh, do I just start this podcast on the most recent episode? I'm like, yeah, you can. But like, we do have little things that flow through the entire podcast that like you might appreciate more if you start from the beginning.
Yeah. It's the appreciation.
It's that whole thing.
You know, if we'd started this podcast out and you'd never watched the show, I mean, like I could have said we could have started on season 3. That's when you get into some deeper stuff. Or we really would have started with Mortal Folly, honestly. But then you wouldn't get like, you'd be like, I just hate the Ice King. There's no reason for me to love him. But now that you know him, you do have like a little bit of the appreciation of the growth and development of
that was kind of my reaction anywames.
I know. You were savaging Ice King at the end of season 2 for sure.
Well, Ned, I'm I've tried to do I'm laughing. I can't do an LSP impression. I was going to say I'm falling in love with our commercial, and I think we need to hop into a little commercial break. If that's all right with you.
Take a little breather. We're good.
Today's episode was brought to you in part by moms. It takes a special person to brave the trials and tribulations of pregnancy, put up with your insufferable teenage angst, and be patient as you plead for space in order to find your own sense of self as an adult, only to emerge from your chrysalis a reflection of that of which you fled. Whether your own mom or a motherly figure in your life, we can all agree moms are great and dads are dumb. Thanks, moms. In the words of Cyndi Lauper, as seen on the Nickelodeon classic film Rugrats in Paris, which really reflects the sentiments of this episode's brief reference to Finn and Jake's mom, I want a mom that will last forever. I want a mom that will make it all better. I want a mom that will last forever. I want a mom that will love me. Whatever.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome.
I know. I think every time I welcome it back in, I say one thing, and I'm like, Russell, bounce off.
I know. It was definitely, you were supposed to take the lead. Man, don't we? We just all love our moms, don't we?
We just love the mamas.
Yeah. I love that moment when Jake and Finn are in bed together, you know.
Yeah, there's a big part of that I think is really important to this season, is that they reference it as mom, and Jake's like, yeah, you know, didn't mom used to say things like that? And Finn was like, yeah, I miss mom, you know, like all that stuff. And you really get to see when they're in the same bed together, the aspect of brotherliness coming back together is that they're not just these buddies. It's not just a boy and his dog. Like, they are really actually brothers.
Equals.
And
yeah.
Well, the show brings it back in. There's a point that they are brothers. It's not, you know, something else. And I think it's a really important moment where they reference her as mom. It's like one of the first times in the show that they are referencing that they share a mom. You know?
Yeah, Jake says, you sound just like mom sometimes. You always, or she always knew just what to say. And there's something like really, I don't know, just like really sweet about that. Like, it's a really sweet sentiment. I guess we found out a while back that Jake's parents have passed away, right?
Yeah, we figure out they're not around. And then when in Boom Boom Mountain, we figured out that, you know, Jake's parents, Margaret and Jake, or excuse me. Oh, wow. Not Margaret and Jake. Wow, why am I blanking?
I don't know. Bob and Ethel is what comes to my mind.
It's like not Bob and Ethel. I'm just blanking. I'm just I don't know. I can't remember Jake's dad's name.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's bad. It's I'm trying to think of like the detective episode, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why can't I? But yes, that they share parents, and this is, I think, a big reference to Finn, like really
Joshua.
Yes, Joshua and Margaret. Oh my gosh. Ugh. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. Like, all of my super fans are like, he's not a super fan.
I know. Now I'm like, who am I podcasting with?
Oh, it's just been a long week, guys. It's just been a long week.
Oh, good.
But yeah, it's important to see that Finn has accepted that they were a part of his life. Like, that's who he considers mom to be.
Yeah,
you know?
And apparently they have the cremation urn like in the living room. You know, that's awesome. I mean, so sweet, very cool. I hate to say it. It's kind of my tops of the episode only because of the cute character that's behind the urn, and just what a great and kind of like rough, sad bit that was that he had, where he's like, "This is your mom. I've come to tell you that you're dumb.
Come to tell you that dumb you are. Dumb you are.
And I hate you guys so much." Like, oh man, it's just a great little prank. But I thought it was really sweet. That whole scene, you know, the way Finn reacts to like, okay, I know like something's keeping you up. Like, you know, you were freaked out earlier today about those little cute guys and what they might have done to your burrito. Well, come into bed, stay in bed, don't worry about it.
I feel like it was done on purpose. So the funny thing, and just actually reading more about the episode, it's the only time in the show that Finn is ever seen not sleeping in his little like beanbag sleeping bag. And I think it's on purpose so Jake can come and like get in the covers with him.
Yeah, so he's more open and accepting looking versus closed off and in a sleeping bag. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting that they did it. And yeah, it creates this really kickoff season 3. Like, we're doing this fun little episode, but like, let's really build some canon. Like, these guys are brothers. They've got the mom thing. It's kind of freaking them out. But let's lead that into like that. So that moment happened because Jake, first of all, gets spooked by, you know, the cuties talking about poison, something with his everything burrito. He thinks it's poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
And then he hears noises, and Jake is like so scared. I wanted to talk about Jake's fear in this episode. I just thought I just thought it was really surprising. Did you not?
Well, totally. And we spent an entire episode developing Finn's fear in season 1 or 2, the water episode or the ocean episode. But we haven't, other than vampires, we don't really know much about what Jake is afraid of or what he stays away from in his personal life.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see the way he reacted. What was this, a dog reaction, or was this a characteristic, like human characteristic reaction, if that makes sense? I may be saying that wrong.
Yeah, well, and I think that's why I wanted to like hyper analyze this, because I thought it was just really interesting in this episode, because Jake is like, he's super stretchy powerful. He's been the mature guy in a lot of situations. He was there for Finn and not scared of diving deep in the ocean when Finn was we had the Finn fear episode. The only thing we know about Jake's fears is that he's afraid of vampires at this point. In this one, I tried to look up if there was a phobia of like, if you freak yourself out, like being afraid of things that you make yourself afraid of because you don't know, like the fear of the unknown or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't find a phobia of that. Like if any of my followers know what I'm talking about, like send us a message and let me know what it is.
I think that's just called anxiety.
It is. Well, and you could, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's just Jake anxiety.
I think it's just anxiety.
It's reflective of, though, his fear of vampires, though, because like it's like he gets so psyched out when they talk about everything burrito, then he hears noises and he thinks that there's the dead goat on the floor, and he's like, the guts are everywhere, and it's like,
oh yeah,
he's only afraid of what he's making up in his mind. None of it is actually rational. He could obviously smash the crap out of these cuties, but he's so scared. And I think that's so funny. It's like, actually, like Jake is so unafraid of so much. And I think that like, it's just so funny that his anxiety is really the only thing that is his weakness,
Well, I wonder if that plays into my Jake's mistakes of the episode.
Give me it.
Because it follows right there. And I wonder if the fear that he has and what he's betraying, according to you and what we saw, plays into his advice for Finn when Finn catches one of the cute guys and he's in the tree wall and they're like, I can't get him out. What should I do? And Jake suggests, shake him around until he stops. And that is terrible advice. Don't do that. That is so bad.
Funny. It's just like, shake him.
I mean, never, like, that's classic. Like, a little kid or something, like you hear these horror stories of like kids shaking a thing until it stops, until it dies, and Jake, man, it must have been driven by his just like freaking out anxiety. It's the only thing he can think of off the top of his head.
Yeah, man. Well, it almost, that's definitely different than my Jake mistake. My Jake mistake was that he didn't eat everything burrito. That was it. That was a huge. But I did, man. I wrote that down as my Jake mistake of the episode, and then I read through some facts about the episode, and it was revealed in the book "Righteous Rules for Being Awesome" that Jake ate everything burrito after he buried it. He went back up and dug it up and ate it. So I'm proud.
Very
so
puppy dog.
My Jake mistake was resolved at least.
That's good. Yeah, that makes sense. I was actually there too, like dog behaviors that I was curious about. It was that one, like what's he do after he buries it? Because most dogs will bury to protect and then go
to dig it back up. Yeah.
And then the other thing was dogs in a bed. Ned, does Wux sleep in the bed?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Just curious on your perspective of that.
Yeah, no. Dogs in the bed is great. I mean, most of the time he's in the bed for 30 minutes, hops down, sleeps on the floor for 90% of the night. Pops back up in the morning when he's ready to wake up.
I'm sure he is he's got to be a little yappy in the morning, right?
Nope. We trained him up well. He's a polite little gentleman.
Wow. It took a minute.
It took a minute there.
He's getting older.
He's very polite. He will wait for us to wake up now.
Yeah. We also saw Jake's sword.
Yes, we did see Jake's sword.
Dude, what a wild sword. It looks kind of evil.
Yeah, so it did apparently make I didn't even notice it, even myself. It did make an appearance in Tree Trunks, the first episode, or in season 1, that Jake has that sword in Tree Trunks for a moment, just for a brief moment. But it is, I love that is like canon. It's like canonical. That is Jake's sword for now.
It's just so wild. It's kind of thicker, it's short, it's serrated, and it's got an evil eyeball and a skull on the hilt of it. Like, it feels very off character. That's not what I would imagine if I was drawing a sword for Jake.
Yeah, it's not what you'd imagine, but like also if you say the sword is weird shaped, like isn't Jake, can't he transform into weird shapes? So like,
I don't know if it's a weird shape. It's just like oddly thick and short, and I don't know. It just doesn't match for me. And that's fine if, I mean, obviously there's a vision behind it, but yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it's the best sword for Jake's natural form. And you could imagine him using some sort of more epic sword if he stretched to a different power, stretched to a different size. But maybe that's the one that's like the best body weight, of his like kind of short stoutness.
It's better than Jake's sword, that's for sure.
It's better
which
than
is
Jake's
him
sword.
being a giant sword, but
which is him basically being a baseball bat.
I just don't think he needs a sword, and I don't think he would be a swordsman in general.
That's why we don't see it very often.
Yeah.
And then you notice that Jake picks up his sword, but Finn picks up a crossbow.
Yeah.
In this episode, it's like one of the first times, and really one of the only times in the show where we see Finn use or choose a different weapon besides a sword. He chooses a crossbow, which is
he even had the root sword at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
But then both of them drop their weapons when they hear the cuties charging toward the treehouse. They both just kind of drop it and go look. Yeah, I don't know. Not really a mistake, but just kind of a silly thing I noticed.
Yeah. Well, silly thing that that I think it's Jake's anxiety gets Finn anxious about being nervous about these like cute people, which I thought was really funny. So we haven't even talked about when the cute people, they come the first time and they explode and walk away defeated. Finn sees the Q King like super bummed out. Finn devises the plan that they're all going to take the fall. We've already talked about that. So like, what did you think about the cute person Voltron?
Oh man. Well, first off, the way that they portrayed it, how big it felt, how big it seemed, and almost intimidating. I was like, okay, like we're taking a little turn. I did this. And then almost immediately you're just like, oh, the scale of it is tiny.
Super
Once
tiny.
they zoom out, it was funny, dude. It was great. And I love that they're kicking at Finn's shins. Like, that would still kind of hurt a little bit.
Yeah,
but they're all just
you could hear
on.
Like the little pat noises, like.
Yeah, there's no clipping or like anything like that, or like they're just kind of holding on with their hands. So I don't know. It was cute. It was very cute.
It reminded me of the Magic Man episode where all the Freak City people kind of like bond together to create one mega person too.
Yeah, it's kind of the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But way cuter.
I think that it's funny to me again. Your lovely was the cute king. But I thought almost every other, like just even by design, every other cute being was cuter than the cute king.
Sure, there was just a lot more personality. I feel like with the lovely segment, I want to try and bring a little bit more oomph to it than I can, or when I can,
Oh yeah. So. Well, that's why. Yeah, it's like every one of them could have been a lovely, but it's like you only got like personality out of the cute king, so it makes sense.
Exactly.
Did this episode? I mean. Because we were in the treehouse, I'm thinking about like season 1 and hearing reviews of season 3, how it did such a good job of like keeping the natural flow of the show. Did it not remind you kind of the Jiggler episode?
It did, in the way that I felt about it.
Really?
And that, like, it's just not super memorable. Like, I was almost expecting something crazy hype after the first episode of season 2 being so amazing. And then we kind of come out with season 3 and we're just kind of hopping back into the swing of things with a good old Adventure Time goofy episode,
Yeah. Well, and you have to expect, so that's the crazy thing. I'll pop on season 9 occasionally and be like, okay, man, like I've been watching season 2. Now I'm ready for season 9, like the deep stuff. And it's just like a funny little goofy episode, and that's
there's nothing wrong with this episode.
Yeah, but, it's part of what Adventure Time's all about. And I think that's maybe why, we could have rolled right from Mortal Recoil into season 3 and been serious again. But then I think they didn't want the fans to expect this is just going to be like 9 more seasons of every episode is like serious life and death threatening situations. They almost enter on the cute because it's so lighthearted after finishing season 2. It catches you off guard, but it reminds you what it's all about, you know?
I mean, I stand by what I said in, I don't know, last season, where Mortal Recoil should have been the first episode of season 3 in my mind. Mm-hmm. And then we have a cute episode following that episode once we're all hooked for season 3. Yeah. I mean, I didn't look and see how long of a timeline it was between the release of season 2 and season 3. But just in my head, it feels like you want to start off with a little bit of a banger. This is not a crazy or memorable episode for me. This is not an episode that is going to probably be on the top 10 list by any means.
I don't think it'll make it in your top 10 for
and Jiggler didn't for either one of us for season 1. You know, like Jiggler wasn't a super memorable
Jiggler was like least favorite. I mean, Jiggler across the board, even from what I've seen in public, is like one of the least favorite episodes of the entire show. Like,
yeah, so that's kind of how I felt about this episode. I was like, hey, fun. I think, to be honest, I think I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Jiggler, if nothing more than the fact that Adventure Time is meaning more to me than it has at any point in my life now that I've spent a year watching 2 seasons of it. You know? like it's becoming more a part of my life, and therefore I'm more tolerable and more appreciative of the slower moments. Like now I almost want an episode like the episode where we had all the imagination and the raining of the knives and all that.
Yes.
Like I almost want another one of those.
It's the breather, and it's the, you know, we go so much into canon, other characters, expanding the universe, and that takes a lot of like mentality to process. It takes a lot of, you know, being like, oh, we're building this universe. This is a huge thing. So when you get those moments in those episodes where it's just Finn and Jake and they're building the bond, and you're seeing more of their like interactions for 80% of the episode, it's wonderful, you know?
It is.
And you appreciate it. And I love that we're not even more than 2 full seasons in, and you're already going, yeah, man, I love when those episodes happen.
Well, I appreciate when those episodes happen. I really enjoy them. But we did get to see a little bit of like Finn being a great guy and meaning well and being like, hey, let's, you know, fake losing for the team, for these cute creatures that need a morale boost. Like, let's just pretend like, I don't know. He meant so well by that. And I appreciate that about Finn. And I think he just knows like they're never going to do anything really, truly evil. They'll prank some people, and at most, like, maybe they could kill someone by poisoning a sandwich, but hopefully they won't do that. And I don't think they will.
I mean, I had a kind of a deep thought about the cuties and Finn helping them. You know, I already kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, how it reminded me of the tree witch, but also it's like, honestly, at the beginning of the episode, they were really, really good. They first of all try to attack and just be brutal and like be something that they're not, essentially. But when they sneak into the treehouse, when the cute king is like, be careful of your everything burrito, they are really good at that psychological warfare. You know, so
that's true.
Sneaking around the house, listening to them talk about their mom so they could manipulate the mom's voice. Like they're in it. They already have that evil mindset of like, let's psychologically destroy these people if we can.
Yeah.
So there's some evil there. And then Finn teaches them. He's like, hey, you're not being evil enough. You should also psychologically manipulate people.
Well, I'm just a sucker for the cuteness, I think is what we've learned.
Yeah, you're the Ice King here.
Well, I'm the Ice King. I'm Finn. I think in this episode and in maybe last season, somewhere along the way, I remember being like, man, I'm just Finn. Like the way that Finn reacts to Princess Bubblegum, the way that Finn reacts to Ice King, the way that Finn's reacting to these cute creatures. Like I just am seeing my reaction be so mirrored in his own.
That's so cool though, because I feel like that's a great way to watch the show, and like a great way to enjoy the show is being like, man, if I'm not already like Finn, I want to be like him. I want to have those reactions. You know, that's a great way to watch the show.
I think I'm also someone who's pretty trusting of people. Even like you got to kind of like burn me before I don't trust you. I don't see the good in you. Like that's I tend to be optimistic toward other people at first,
Yeah.
and so like Ice King's kind of burnt me a little bit. These cute guys haven't done anything to me, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. So, I mean, I'll give you that. I think I was a little bit more harsh on the cuties in this episode because I'm like, they're evil. And Finn has some like really intense moments later in the show where he's always debating on like what's evil, what's not evil. Like, you're doing evil things, but like, I can't kill you because like I could redeem you. And so I do see him pursuing the redemptive qualities of people rather than like just destroying anything that's evil. Is that, and I want to talk about Grass Finn so much right now, but I can't. So all my fans know, I'm talking about Fern. And so all my fans out there just talking about like Finn debating on whether or not something is good or bad. I see the more conundrum in him in later seasons that like if it were older Finn in this season, he'd probably really sit and think about, can I help these people? Are they good? Are they evil? Instead of being, this is a little bit more impulsive Finn too. I'm still getting.
Yeah. Well, Ned, did you have any other thoughts before we hop into lessons? We're getting a little deep into this episode.
Yeah. I mean, my only other deep thought, I'll say that because it plays into my lesson. So I'm gonna hold my deep thought because it goes into my main lesson of the episode. So yes, we do have some great facts about this episode. I love that they started out season 3. It was a handful of some references and a handful of some stuff that they didn't release in the show. So the first one, the most boring one, I'll start with the borings, is that in the credits, they now only put certain voice actors in the additional voice section. In earlier seasons, they had put every additional voice actor. So I think they're realizing that they've got a lot of characters. They've got LSB, they've got 2 seconds of Cinnamon Bun in this one. That they may not credit Cinnamon Bun in this episode.
That's fair. Yeah.
So in the old version, the cuties were actually called Snuggle. I can't say this with a straight face. Snuggledoodle and the Hugaboopies instead of the cuties. It was, I think the king was Snuggledoodle and his army was the Hugaboopies, which I thought was so great.
If they were called the Hugaboobies, they would be my lovelies for sure.
They would definitely be the lovely.
Yeah, they would have won it.
Another fun part of this episode, almost over my head, is that even though BMO is genderless, like we've talked about, Finn calls it Milady in this episode.
Ah, cool.
So we've already established we're calling BMO him just for consistency's sake. We're just saying when we refer to BMO, we'll just go, oh yeah, he did this, him did this. But BMO is genderless. We will 100% always recognize that. But in the show, they go back and forth in terms of gender naming. And he's like, yes, my lady. So I love that. I love that that's a good reference in this episode.
I guess I didn't even pick up on that. I mean, I definitely remember it, but I must have just heard that and not like thought he was talking about BMO for some reason. I don't know.
It's cool. A nice part in the show where it's like somebody is genderless and it's totally normal. It's not something. It's not even. It's not.
They didn't make a big deal out of it.
It's not
like
a PC
we're doing right now. Almost
throwing. Yeah, if this had been made now, people would be all like hype or controversial about it, and it's just like, no, it's a robot. It's a robot in a TV show. It's okay for it to be genderless, and like, that's why it's so great. It does switch back and forth in terms of he and him and her and Milady and
well, if I was gonna get a tattoo from this show right now, I'm leaning toward BMO.
Yeah, certainly. Well, dude, next time you're in Atlanta, or next time I'm in Nashville, we're going to get BMO tattoos. I will do it in a minute. I will.
Yeah, well, you can do it on your own. I don't have any tattoos, y'all. In case you're wondering why I'm hesitant, I just don't have any tattoos. So.
I know it would be a hard first one, but it's one that I'd be okay if my wife hated too. So it's whatever.
Get it on your butt.
Oh yeah, BMO butt tattoo.
What mama don't know won't hurt her.
Give me all your money, honey.
was just two different references.
Another factoid, BMO's camera produces the same sound as the Hitchhiker's camera from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre film.
Cool.
Which I think is funny. They pulled a sound bite out of a horror film for BMO.
Would you believe me if I said I've never seen that film before?
I would not. I would 100% believe it. You're not a big fan of horror movies.
Yeah, I'm scaredy cat.
Yeah.
Well established on this podcast.
Some of the Texas Chainsaws are worth seeing. Some of them are not. You know.
He does a thing with skin and puts it on his face. I've seen enough. I'm good.
I've seen enough. And then my last great fact, and this is the one I had bolded of my factoids because I love this YouTube series. It's the Cute King actually yells out "Bravest Warriors," when he's addressing his all his clan, his warriors. That is a reference to Pendleton Ward's earlier cartoon show called Bravest Warriors, which was, I don't know if it was only released on YouTube. I don't know if it was a brief Adult Swim Cartoon Network thing. It's hilarious. And there's a character called Catbug. And that's why I loved in the actual title card of the show, there's a ladybug crawling on one of their faces as they're being cute. I would imagine it was a call out to Catbug. If I'm getting that right, Penn Ward, send us an email and be like, dude, you got my reference. Nobody's gotten it in 20 years. But dude, if you're a Bravest Warriors fan, you can relate to my Catbug love. But right. you like anime, you like cartoon shows. We need to watch Brave. It's like somewhere right in between Midnight Gospel and Adventure Time.
Cool. Well,
so yeah, we got to watch it. But I love the call out. Penn Ward's posting his own shows up there.
Yeah, why not do it?
Why not? Why not just do it? Just freaking do it. Oh man, so give me your lessons for this show. What'd you learn?
Yeah. Now that you're making fun of me, Dad. Man, my first lesson. Don't let your brain turn up your fear volume. It's my first one.
I love that. That was definitely my highlighted quote of the episode. Don't let your brain dial turn up your fear.
Fear volume.
Fear levels, fear volumes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good one. My second one is determine your strengths and utilize them to control other people. Also known as kill them with cuteness.
Kill them with kindness.
What about you, Ned?
Ariana Grande all over them. Kill them with kindness. No, mine was give or take the same thing, maybe with a deeper aspect behind it. Was do what you're good at. Learn your skills, learn where you hone in. But don't force your wants and desires into areas where they don't fit. And that's what I feel like the Cute King did just a terrible job at. He wanted to rule. He wanted to be controlling. Didn't have that self-realization that you're super cute. You can't do that. You need to hone your skills and hone what your given gifts are, and find your desires, find what you're searching for through the path where your gifts are given you,
Yeah.
And
totally agree. Killing with cuteness.
TLDR, don't force a square block into a round hole.
Okay. Yeah. Right on. Well, Ned, I got a rec for you.
Give me a rec.
Yeah, man. We did something the other day. Me and Allie, I guess, created these. So TM. Non-canonical date nights is what I'm going to say, or what I'm going to call this.
Okay. I'm interested.
Yeah. So what we did was we kind of made fun of certain restaurants and certain activities as things that we would just never do in the canon of our relationship. So we went to Olive Garden the other night because Olive Garden is a running joke on a podcast that we love. They went to Olive Garden a lot growing up. What was it? MBMBA. And so we're like, all right, we got to go to the Olive Garden. And non-canonical date night, one of the partners surprises the other partner with an activity and a dinner place. And it has to be something that you would never actually go, but you end up enjoying it because you're kind of going ironically. You're kind of there as a joke. So the whole time you're just why are we here? What are we doing? But you got to fully embrace it and just enjoy the date night. And it makes you go do things that you would never actually do which is kind of really fun, and they're really memorable. So
yeah, dude, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because I feel like that's that's a type of mentality you should take on with life. Is like, put your ego aside and do something just because, even if you're going into it as a joke or going into it as you just have a good time. Like, you're just there, just be there.
No,
I love
totally.
it.
And that's what we did. So we did Olive Garden, and then I don't know if this counts as an activity, but Allie had us doing BuzzFeed quizzes and taking the what is the Enneagram. So that's what we ended up doing after Olive Garden.
It's a date night where if you did this unironically, you'd be like, I wouldn't date this person.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a weird things. Like, I think the example that people come up with when I mention this to them is like, oh, like, so you go to like Chili's or Applebee's or something like that, some like weird chain restaurant, and then you go and do pottery. And I'm like, yeah, that would be a great one, except for like we've done pottery like canonically in our relationship, and Allie used to work at a pottery place, so that doesn't count for us.
Yeah.
But highly recommend it. Non-canonical date nights. You heard it here first, I believe.
Yeah, I did a similar thing with Jackie. One of our probably first 5 dates, we had a joke fun date, and I was like, wouldn't it be fun if we got really dressed up and then went to some place that wasn't really dressed up? Now we went to Ted's in Athens.
Okay.
Not Ted's Montana Grill, but Ted's, like the weird pizza. And we were overdressed, but it wasn't as bad as like if we did that and went to like Taco Bell, which I'm like, oh, we should have done that. We should have gotten it. And we looked like we were going on a daggum semi-formal. Like,
that's
it was
pretty
funny.
Fun.
So that was fun. So I've done
you
something
definitely
similar.
Would give other people something to talk about. Like, you definitely would be the talk. Like, I remember being at a Waffle House in Athens and seeing a bride and a groom walk in at like 11:30 at night, and we're all just like, what is going on? Why are they
if you haven't seen a bride
House?
and groom at a Waffle House, you haven't been to a Waffle House. Come on.
It's true. That's very true.
It's true. That's just Georgia things.
Yeah, that's just canon.
That's just canon right there. Oh man, my recommendation would have to be Commander Deck Magic the Gathering.
Okay.
I've recently become closer friends with one of my wife's good friends from high school, and he loves Magic the Gathering, and so he's been attempting to get me way more into it. And we started building what's called Commander Decks, which is, instead of 60 cards, you play with 100 cards, and it's a whole extra type of strategy. So,
Ned,
it's intense, man.
Ned.
What, that I'm playing Magic? And do you feel like I'm cheating on you?
With someone else? You're playing with someone else?
I am. I'm building bigger decks too.
Bigger decks, stronger decks.
I just like him because he's bigger.
Decks.
I just like him because he's bigger, Russell.
Oh my gosh. Freaking. All right. Well, thanks, y'all.
Is that a dirty joke?
Get out of here.
Get out of
here. Anyways, thanks so much for coming along with us. Another episode down. This was like a fun, goofy episode. It was, like nothing too deep thoughts. I can't believe we went on for an hour about it, but
it's almost easier to talk, I feel like, when we haven't talked in a week, and then we can just shoot the shit,
It's true. Fun. I mean, when I was in Atlanta, we literally talked for like 4 hours.
Oh, dude, we stayed up till like 2 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, we were just sitting in the kitchen chatting. So, I mean, good times, but certainly, like, this episode just didn't have a lot of meat, as you like to say, but that's okay. Like, it was a fun episode. Go check it out if you haven't already seen it, or haven't seen it in a while. And in the meantime, check us out on Instagram at Never Ending Adventure Podcast, TikTok at Never Ending Adventure Cast, Twitter at NEA_podcast, and email us your thoughts, your opinions. If you got something good for us, we'll feature it on the show, on the podcast.
Just like Austin.
Just like Austin at NEA.travelerslog@gmail.com. Check us out on YouTube. Maybe someday we'll have a visual element if we can afford some cameras. And if you haven't already, hit us up with that review on Apple Podcasts, and we'll shoot you a sticker. If you can only do like a Spotify thing, because that's where you listen, and you don't have Apple Podcasts, take a screenshot of that and send it to us, and we'll happily send you a sticker anyway.
Yes, and for those fans that are expecting stickers already, they are in progress. We are sourcing them right now. So
we need to hurry up.
They are coming. Yes, we need to. I'm going to double check on that tomorrow to make sure they are actually happening. Like we've got some sources. We've sent the files. The quotes are really slow. I don't know why the quotes are slow.
If that doesn't work, we'll just go online and order them from like some random sticker thing that I've done before.
You can do anything on Etsy nowadays.
Yeah, it's just a little more expensive, but we'll do that. Who cares? Anyways, every Tuesday, y'all. We'll be back next Tuesday for episode 2 of season 3.
Yes, we're getting in it.
Getting in it, back to it.
Getting our hands in the dirt.
In the meantime, I guess you could, man. I'm thinking about it right now. I suppose you could just party forever.
I will party forever, Russell, because I loved you guys so much. It's my special. I loved you.